Welcome back to Bleav in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen with my guy, as usual, Jerraud Powers. Jerraud, what a weekend. A lot of stuff has happened over this past weekend. We got the Final Four going on. Championship game today at 9. We had the Pat McAfee doing his thing. Oh my goodness, dude. We're gonna touch on that. We're gonna touch on a bunch of stuff, including Indianapolis Colts players that are signing with other teams, things like that. But for the weekend, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good, man. Was on the road. Went to the ATL for my niece's play that she was having in Atlanta, and while there, took my kids to the Hawks Nets game. Had a ball, had a good time. Saw Durant drop 55 on him, so it was a fun time this weekend. How about yourself?
Well, some of you know, this past weekend I just celebrated my a big 4-6. Yeah, I can't believe I'm 4 years from being over the hill. What the heck, man?
Oh man, you can't look at it that way. Don't look at it that way.
Oh my goodness! But hey, I woke up today. I'm another year has passed, and I got another year to look forward to. But college basketball. Let's just get into this right now. I know this is a football podcast, Indianapolis Colts, but the championship, NCAA national championship. You got North Carolina, excuse me, yeah,
The blue
Kansas
blood.
and North Carolina. Did you expect this?
Man, I actually had Nova getting to the championship, so I was kind of shocked the way Nova got beat. But North Carolina, they struggled all year. I don't know if you watch college basketball any or kept up with it, but they didn't look good all year, kind of just up and down. So to see them kind of get hot at the right time, it ain't too many other teams out there. Well, obviously now the only other team that's playing just like them is Kansas. So I think it's going to be a fun game. The NCAA tournament this year has just been wild. So basketball has been great.
Awesome. Well, it's kind of like, kind of flashback to 2006 where the Colts, they didn't play great during, the regular
Oh yeah,
season, and then they got hot
got
when the
hot,
playoffs started, right?
especially the defense.
Yes, exactly. So, it is how it is. And you know what? We can actually, you and I and everyone listening, we could bet on this game with Bet Online because the top teams in college basketball have been determined and the and the championship game is set. Looking to wager on the game? Head over to betonline.ag on your desktop or mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, to get started. BetOnline remains your number one spot it's for sports on updated odds and info along with player props and new contests throughout the year. It's the best source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and everyone's favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. Now we're going to get in. Now, I didn't watch it last night because I don't have cable and I'm don't have a lot of money to spend on pay-per-view stuff, but I got to watch a lot of clips, which I'm sure you did as well. Pat McAfee having himself a day yesterday at WrestleMania.
Yeah, man. Just seeing the clips, the highlights from it, and just how he looked. I mean, the guy did a backwards flip off the ropes and landed on his feet. And I saw him do an interview the other day, and he was saying he was in the best shape of his life. He wish he trained like like this when he played football. So he been talking about wrestling and stuff like this since day one, since I met him. So to see all that kind of come to life, man, I'm like laughing. Like I think it's hilarious. I'm laughing at him rather than like looking at the bigger picture because he's really living a movie right now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he, himself and a lot of other people who kind of retired during their quote unquote primes of their career, right? Kind of get some heat from fans. about that. Not all fans. A lot of fans are like, like me, like, hey, it's your choice, your life,
Right.
make sure you live it to the best you want to do it. And, he's one of those rare people that retired during this prime and then goes out to do his own thing and becomes bigger than what he was when he was in the NFL. And it's not like he was unknown in the NFL, right? I mean,
Right.
people knew him when he retired. His personality was there, right?
Oh
He was
yeah.
an all-decade punter. That says something. But to go out not only to do his own thing, doing a talk show like what we're doing, but only on a grander scale, obviously.
Right.
And but he goes out and he does what he does what he's wanted to do his whole life, and that's the wrestling thing. He wanted to get into that. And ever since he was a kid, obviously I watched wrestling when I was a child as well.
Mhm.
I mean, it was fun. It was, out there. It was entertainment for kids and adults, So for him to go out there and not only get to wrestle in a game, but do it on the biggest stage at WrestleMania, win his match, then get beat by the owner of the company, and then get
Stone Cold Stunner. Yeah.
yeah, Stone Cold Stunner. I'm assuming it's his favorite, wrestler favorite move, so to get taken out like that would just be a dream come true. And I have nothing but happiness for him. I'm glad he got to live that dream.
Yeah, and like you just said, the dream come true. That's what I saw in the clips that I saw all online. It's just he was just living his dream, and that's what made it, I guess, surreal a little bit because his wife tweeted a video out of
Mm-hmm.
them hopping on the jet, and Pat's reaction. He's half drunk or whatnot. He got a scar from Stone Cold Steve Austin on his arm. You see a scar and all that type of thing, and he's kind of just dozing off. And then I think the main thing that kind of helped Pat with like life after football is when you're working like for the NFL, you're in the NFL's box. You got to follow the NFL's rules. It's just certain stuff you can't do, you can't say, kind of hold you back a little bit if you don't have a plan. Pat's one of those guys that he wants to set his own rules, and that's what he did. He created his own lifestyle, his own world, his own platform. He tried the ESPN thing, it didn't work. He's tried different things that he didn't like, and you just see him setting his own rules and just living that dream out. And it's kind of fun to see, this pathway because who knows the person that's going to retire from the NFL early next and try to start his own pathway or dream. Maybe it's a box he's opening.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of other big personalities out there, people who
Yeah.
do podcasts and stuff like that. You got uh Bussing with the Boys, that's a
Yeah.
pretty popular one as well. Maybe we'll see him step up and do something as well. This is he has really opened up a lot of options, not just in broadcasting and media and stuff like that, but just to do your own thing,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yep.
that's the big thing right there. Just to be able to do your own thing after the NFL. So
Yep.
good for him. He's going to be remembered as one of those guys, those I
Legend.
hate
He's
this.
a legend.
Yeah, a
He's a living
legend.
legend right now. After last night, he's a living legend right now. He probably
Absolutely.
can't wait to go back to West Virginia for a weekend.
It was nice when he was introduced. He came in with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, which kind of hurt me a little bit because I was like, why couldn't you got the Colts cheerleaders? But
Got
I,
blue.
yeah, I get that the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders are legend among cheerleaders, and came in under the Seven Nation Army theme song, that the song for that as his theme song. But him being announced out of Indianapolis, Indiana, was a nice thing to hear.
Oh
That
yeah.
you know he still
Lives
lives,
lives in Indy. Yeah. Yeah. I
works
think
here, everything.
Yeah, Indy's definitely home for him. He definitely treats Indy like that. That's home number one for sure.
Absolutely, and he's a Pittsburgh native, if I remember correctly. So, his career kept him here, as it does with a lot of former sports players. No matter what sport, whether it's basketball, football, things of that nature. You come to Indy and you see what the city really is. Yes, we have weather and it's weird. But at the same time, this is a great state, great city. And, the people are good because the Hoosier hospitality is a real thing. So people like to stick around. And I'm glad that he did so as well, because there's not a lot of big names out there that prop up the city and the state. There, two come to mind. One, obviously, Pat McAfee. The other one is the talk show host. I can't remember his name now, right off the top of my head. I think it's the Late Show. From
I have no
my
idea.
brain is not working. David Letterman.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a big spokesman for Indianapolis and Indiana. So, all right. Thank you for watching Jerraud Powers and I here on Bleav in Colts, part of the Bleav Podcast Network. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell so that you're notified next time we upload a video or go live. And don't forget, you can hit that little red share button. Help us out a lot with exposure and getting our stuff out to more fans. Now, let's get back to the video. Speaking of Indiana, let's actually get into actual Colts stuff, shall we? Not a lot of signings to talk about. We were actually texting that beforehand, right before we started recording. It was like, do you really want to do this? Because there's not a lot of news going out there. There is a lot of news, just nothing about stuff coming into the organization. It's just people leaving, going to other teams or retiring or something of that nature. So I guess we'll kind of focus a little bit on that. We've got multiple players leaving the Indianapolis Colts, signing contracts to become, and I'm assuming most of these are starters on other teams.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Glowinski, definitely. You're not paying a guy 3 years, $20 million for a guard to be a backup, right?
Yeah, he's definitely starting.
Chris Reed, another guy. Now, some guys we haven't gotten their contract information, but Chris Reed went to the Vikings. I'm assuming he got paid some. Otherwise, the Colts probably would have kept him.
Yep.
The Niners got George Odom, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one right there. I mean, all pro at the special teams position. So that kind of hurts a little bit. So does this one. Marlon Mack to the Texans. And I'll tell you what, Marlon Mack, he's kind of a fan favorite amongst the Indianapolis Colts fans. A guy who come in his rookie year, learned under Frank Gore while he was here, learned under running backs coach Tom Rathman, the former fullback for the Niners back in the day, learned and became a very good all-around running back. And it was very easy to root for Marlon Mack. And then the Jonathan Taylor thing happened, after his Achilles injury. And you just knew his time in Indy was, it was limited.
Yeah, and it was never nothing that, Marlon Mack did or his play did that, made any of this happen. I mean, that's just the nature of football. Like, you're not going to bring in guys that you feel that's not going to, eventually be the next one, if that makes sense. And Marlon Mack, unfortunately, had that injury, and Jonathan Taylor basically just took advantage of his opportunity. But I don't think this won't be the like Marlon Mack about to make his name ring again in the league. I think he's just looking for a fresh start. I don't think he cared where it was at. Just want that opportunity to get back on the field, show people what he can do, because it's probably a 1-year type deal, prove it type thing, where he can come in, get his reps, play, start possibly. I think David Johnson might still be over there. No, David Johnson's not there no more. I'm late.
Royce Freeman and Rex Burkhead are his two.
Oh, Rex Burkhead. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow. Dang. Okay. So, yeah, he's probably going over there and probably can win that job and start and be a prove it type year to where he can probably find another home after this year unless the Texans keep him. But Marlon Mack definitely about to make his name ring again in the league. So,
Oh, definitely. I think so too. And it's not just what he does on the field; it's what he does in the locker room and how he carries himself that makes him such a favorite, not only of fans, but I think of players as well. When you talk to Nyheim Hines or Jonathan Taylor, they talk about how much help he was to them on their play, when they came into the league. When he hurt his Achilles, when he tore his Achilles and Jonathan Taylor started, Jonathan talked about, how Marlon was just talking him through stuff and going through film and saying, hey, use your instincts. Your instinct says go. Don't second guess it. You can't second guess in the NFL. You can't take a moment. You just got to use your instincts and go. And once Taylor was able to get that in his head, at least that's the way it looked like to me on film. After time, when the game started to slow down and him being able to do that, he started to blow up. And Marlon Mack had a lot to do with that. Nyheim Hines talks a lot about him as well. I mean, Marlon's a great all-around back, and I think you're right. It's just about getting his name back out there. And yeah, it's a divisional rival, and it sucks because you can't root as a Colts fan. You can't root for him 2 games out of the year, and I'll never root for the Texans. I'm sorry, guys. I'm never going to root for the Texans. I don't care if you're playing the Jets. I'm not rooting for you. All right. But at the same time, I can wish him the best and hope that he has a very good second coming of his career. And I really do hope that,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just hope he just have 2 bad games versus the Colts. That's all. Like gets everybody else. You hope he does his thing. I think when it comes to fans, it gets tricky when it's divisional rivals and all that. But I think the main position that's affected by that is you won't see quarterbacks. Like you won't see quarterbacks going from divisional rival. Well, I can't even say that. 2011, Kerry Collins did come to Indy and play.
Mm-hmm.
Andre Johnson did play a year in Indy from the Texans. So I guess my little theory I was about to go in depth with just gets thrown out the window.
Well, it's not often, right? It's not very often that happens. It's like earlier this year when Deshaun Watson, in that situation, players in their prime don't do that. Yeah, when they're starters in their prime, they don't do that. But like Deshaun Watson, right? It was told that Chris Ballard called to ask about Deshaun, and Nick Casario's like, click, and I knew that's what would happen. I mean, come on,
no question. Gotta check on that one, though.
Gotta, right? Whenever there's a big name, no matter where they're at, you gotta be like, is there a chance? Because you don't know. Nick Casario might be running the team the way Bill O'Brien did. Maybe you can get him for a 2nd round pick and a bag of chips.
Never know. You never know.
So I'm curious. Like I said, now the contracts for Marlon Mack and Chris Reed are not out yet. So we don't know what they're really making. I don't think they're out yet. I think there's rumors on the Marlon Mack one though. I think, but like I said, let me see here. Odom's getting paid, I think, around $3 million or something. $9.5 million over 3 years, I think. So I think something of that nature. And like I said, Glowinski signed a 3-year, $20 million. So that's
a starter. Yeah, he's going to start.
Yeah, he's definitely a starter. I want to get into what that says about the Colts. Now, Chris Ballard states and has stated since he's been with the Colts GM, he has stated that, hey, uh, if you come to Indy and you perform well, you get rewarded, right? We will reward you with a contract. But then you got these guys leaving and getting paid elsewhere. Does that say much about Chris Ballard in the he's lying? Or does that more say he's too darn good at his job?
No, he's not lying at all. And it could be just a situation to where, he don't want to pay that specific player that amount of money or whatnot. He might have it slated to where, you're making $7 million a year with the Jets. I had you at $5 million and just not willing to go up. It's no disrespect or I guess anything like that, because if he didn't feel that he could replace that, he would have paid it, at the end of the day. So when he says, you come here, play well, you get rewarded, yeah, under the team's understandings, if that makes sense, because only the inside people knows if you really played a good game, not the PFF grade, off the game plan and the grades that the coaches give and the meetings that the coaches see and the scouts every day at practice. Only those people truly know what they value a guy inside their building. They don't necessarily have control on the market, what the market says to a player when you become free agent, because normally every free agent get paid a little bit more on the market compared to what their hometown team would have gave them anyway.
Well, there's also the idea. I mean, you can't re-sign everybody, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just all it is. Otherwise, I mean, there's a salary cap. Contrary to what a lot of fans look at when they're looking at other teams and they're like, how in the world is this team who's, over cap signing someone to 5 years, $50 million, right?
Right.
Over and over and over, you're seeing it. But that's just how they structure contracts. You can't re-sign everybody. You just can't. And like right now, I think that the situation with the offensive line, and it hurts to see Glowinski and Reed both go, plus Eric Fisher, because that's
Yeah.
three guys who had major snaps last year on the offensive line, now
No,
completely gone.
and no depth at all either now.
No, we're using our depth as starters now, from what the way it looks. But we're getting ready. Chris Ballard's got a big decision coming up with already with Quentin Nelson. Is he going to sign him that huge monster deal that, everyone's expecting? A lot of people are talking about, maybe we just trade Nelson. I don't like that idea personally, because I think he's a game changer.
Right.
Even as a guard on the offensive line, he is a game changer and a guy who lifts the team across the board. And you just don't get rid of guys like that, in my opinion.
Right.
Unless he's, I want 30 million a year, then it's time to go. All right, but
I think in this situation with Matt Ryan coming into the fold, and we're talking about a Matt Ryan on the later half of his career on the back end. You don't want this year to be with a bunch of new guys and new faces when we're talking about that offensive line. Like, you want to have your pieces back, like your main guys, your Quinn Nelsons and those guys are still here. You want to make sure you take care of them and do whatever you got to do to keep them around, because the other spots that you got to fill in, that other guard, that right tackle, whatever that case may be, that you got to fill in, those top guys that's back are the ones that's going to glue that thing together. Don't have it to where this person, like, everybody's new except one guy or whatever the case may be, with Matt Ryan at your quarterback, and he wants to come in and be protected to the point to where he ain't got to control everything at this position. Like, it's already going to be a young wide receiver room. It's already a young running back room that we got with Jonathan Taylor. Even though he's great, he's still a young guy. So Matt's going to come in with this, a load of stuff that he has to handle as a quarterback. You want to at least have your main core offensive lineman guys back and happy to where they can kind of handle that part of it, and Matt can handle everything else. That's my opinion with it. If I'm Chris Ballard, thinking about the pieces that I need, like, I gotta make sure my main offensive line pieces are back and happy. So whatever we got to pay them, I know we got a lot of money right now, whatever we got to pay them. And hopefully, like I said, you get a discount a little bit, when it's your hometown team. So whatever we got to do to make sure they're happy is going to be a start. Everybody else can just plug in.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. You got to have the right mixture when it comes to position groups, right? You got to have enough young guys
Right.
so that all your contracts ain't coming due at the same time, but you got to have those veterans in there as well to, as you say, glue the group together, and they can run as a unit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the way it looks now, I think, on both lines, right? With the offensive and defensive lines. And,
Mhm.
people talk about, well, Ballard doesn't spend money in free agency. He's just letting guys go and not even spending it on them. But he is. I mean, how much do you think Matt Ryan costs? It wasn't just a trade. I mean, he's got to pay the dude,
Right.
Yannick. How much do you think he costs? Right. Those are, even though they weren't free agents at the time, they are still,
On the books.
uh, yeah, they're still on the books. And you got to look at stuff like that. I mean, uh, no, it wasn't Jarvis Landry. As far as I know, he's still out there.
Right.
He's not Tyrann Mathieu. As far as I know, he's still out there. But he's still doing what he's got to do to build a proper roster. You can't
Right.
be too. Go look at Cincinnati, right? Like the Cincinnati Bengals. People want to go all offense and say, well, that's how you win a Super Bowl. You got to have a passing offense. Did they win the Super? They got to the Super Bowl. Did they win the Super Bowl? No. You know,
Right.
uh, you got to have a balanced roster in order to be effective, not only during the regular season, but in the postseason as well. Because everybody's got a good team in the postseason. You have to be able to do everything well in the postseason to continue moving on. Right.
Yeah, and that's how you build your team. You build your team thinking about the postseason. You're not building your team thinking about week 1, week 2, week 3. Like you're building your team thinking about January football, December, January, February football. And the hardest, one of the hardest jobs to do that is putting the right pieces together. I mean, it even gets deeper than just talent. You want the right locker room guys. You want the right guys on the same mental aspect. Like you want the right guys that's gonna be the leaders in the room. It might not show up on the field every Sunday, but from Monday to Saturday, it's everything that the team needs or whatnot. So I think everybody just gotta just give Chris Ballard his time, let him do his magic. Yeah, a couple weeks ago we was just worried about the quarterback position, and boom, Matt Ryan, which he said we got lucky, but you can call it luck all you want. I think he was prepared. At least we were prepared to make that move and make it happen. And I think this is another situation is that he's probably prepared, got a couple different plans, different routes we can go. It's just a matter of finding the right piece or that right domino fall. And now all these guys start signing and moves start making. I think right now it's just like a waiting game just to get to the draft and let the draft happen and see, what's next and who's going to fall where.
Wow. When you just said that, I can kind of put GMing and building a team in that situation with Matt Ryan very similar to playing defensive back in the NFL and getting an interception while in zone coverage. Because people, you go look at fans and they'll be like, well, he just got lucky. He was in the right space at the right time. I'm like, no, you don't understand. He put himself in that position to be
Yep.
at the right place at the right time
Yep.
on purpose.
On purpose.
Ballard put himself on purpose to be in the right place at the right time to get the Matt Ryan
Mhm.
while he was there. So, you know, very good. I wow, I just realized that because I was thinking too, that Ballard kind of got lucky, but at the same time, he did.
He was ready. Yeah.
He
He
was
already had
prepared
his
for it.
quarterback, his previous quarterback out of the picture. His money was already off the books. So the only thing he could flaunt was assets, so
Mm-hmm.
he was ready right there. So as soon as you see the one report that the Falcons is interested in Deshaun, you knew they couldn't go back to Matt Ryan. So, and if they didn't have what they have, maybe he wouldn't be the team. Maybe Matt Ryan would be on another team right now rather than the Colts. I think the Colts did a good job now looking back, going ahead and getting rid of Carson and let everybody know that they're moving on. Let everybody know, like, hey, we're in the quarterback market arena right now. Like we're trying to we're calling about everybody, so I'm sure they asked about Russ. I'm sure they asked about Jameis and like everybody, so I think the Falcons knew that going forward, because just like how we're talking about, the Colts and the different plans and the GM strategies, you got to think these other teams, it's all chess with all these guys. These other teams are trying to do it their way as well. So I'm sure the Falcons knew, like, hey, once this report goes out that we're interested in Deshaun or trying to upgrade to Deshaun, that we're going to have a plan B, because we can't go back to Matt Ryan or whatever the case may be. So I'm pretty sure the Falcons knew that the Colts was interested or whatever the deal was. And that's just how business works at the end of the day. And I think Chris Ballard in this situation, he got many options depending on what domino falls or what happens, that he's going to have a plan and just be ready to make a move to fit whatever in the best coach's interest for that time being in that present moment.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that sometime soon this week we'll hear some signings of some sort. I don't care if they're guys that no one's expecting, just something. We don't have nowhere near enough people currently on the roster to build that 90 man. I get a lot of those are camp bodies, but I'm still seeing maybe 10 guys that we need on the 53, from
Right.
what I'm looking at the roster, unless some of these guys who I normally see as camp bodies stand out during camp, which I'm sure,
That's always
Ballard's hoping. But hopefully we'll see some signings soon. There's still a little bit of money left on the books after the restructure of Matt Ryan, so that we could actually have something more positive to talk about the next time we come on. But is there any final words you want to talk about?
Nah, man, just fans, be patient. It's the off season.
Right. It's all about being patient. Well, thanks for taking time out and talking about what little we had to talk about this week. Some of the news that we wanted to talk about wasn't necessarily pro football related, but it was related to Indy in a way. Basketball is a big thing in Indy, so college basketball especially. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bleav in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And until next time, as usual, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Jerraud Powers. And yeah, go Colts.